Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenelle Riley. I'm so happy to welcome you to tonight's conversation. At this time, please join me in welcoming one of the busiest and best actresses working today. You have seen her range in everything from True Detective to Gone Baby Gone to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. She is currently, of course, starring in The Path on Hulu. Please welcome Michelle Monaghan.
Hey, guys.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
another great show.
Thank you so much.
I mean, when you start off on TV with True Detective, you probably are very nervous about what you're going to follow it up with.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that show kind of ruined me in a lot of ways because it was really flawless. You know, when we were making that show, you could kind of feel like in the room that we were making something special. But when I actually saw it, I went, "Oh God, what am I gonna do now?" But the experience was so positive. I wanted to do another show because I enjoyed the process so much. So I actually started looking at things, but everything kind of paled in comparison until I came across this, and this was something that I felt. Like it felt very unique, and it felt like a journey that I could potentially go on for several years. And also I was a fan of Jason Katims. I think like historically you look at his shows and he creates a world, like a real atmosphere that you can really believe. And I thought like he would be the right person to tackle this sort of subject line, and I was really intrigued by it.
And how did it come to you? Was it just like a pilot script? Did they have a Bible?
You know,
show?
they didn't have the Bible, but that kind of came.
They had a ladder.
They kind of had a ladder. Yeah, exactly. But they sent me 2 or 3 episodes. I guess it was about this time last year, actually. And I'd read the first one, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely intrigued. I said, do you have a second one maybe you could give me? And a few days later, they gave me a second one. I thought, okay, wow, this is really great. And so I went in and I sat down with them, Jessica Goldberg, our amazing creator, and Jason Katims, and they'd sort of kind of pitched the overall season, just very broad, of course, broad strokes. But their vision was really kind of what got me, and then the idea that they wanted to kind of explore all the different areas of faith or movement or religion, what have you, sort of the light side and also the dark side. And that's, of course, what got me was the dark side.
Really? The person on True Detective likes the dark
Yeah,
side?
exactly. Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
Didn't it have another title before?
It did. It was originally called The Way. And oddly enough, as we started going through the process of, going through all the legalities of The Way, we actually found that there is a movement out there called The Way. No shit, yeah. And and so then we were all super bummed because we were trying to figure out like, well, what do you have next, you know? And we settled on The Path, but The Path is really nice. I really like it. And then, not that it matters, not that anybody cares that I like it, but it works. And then we worked into the more specifics of what the movement would be called, which was Meyerism. And I have no idea where that came from.
So you actually found out before you even started shooting that The Way was not available?
We did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you think people's fascination with cults is? Because I know I find it fascinating.
Yeah, well, I mean, I find it fascinating as well. I guess it's because you always want to know what happens behind closed doors in general in any situation. But I think religion or faith and people's beliefs they're very unique to each person, but it's also very universal. And I was sort of fascinated with it as well because, we all have our own. We all identify to religion and our faith in our own way, and whether you either choose to follow Buddhism or Meyerism or Catholicism or Mormonism. Or you choose to be an atheist or you're agnostic, you've somehow, probably each and every one of us in this room has a relationship to it. And so I just thought it was such a great theme to be able to explore and how provocative I guess it is. I mean, I'm I'm so fascinated what people do in the name of religion, and that means for better and for worse. And so I think that that's what sort of we wanted to kind of explore. While we're really well-intentioned, of course, as all religions are, and sometimes those can get muddled, those with convictions and being so convicted, and that's sort of why it feels a little morally ambiguous or ethically ambiguous, and I think that's what the area that we're trying to sort of explore and kind of find that balance.
Did you do any specific research for this role? I mean, you didn't end up in a cult.
I didn't end up in a cult, and I can't say that I won't. No, no. You know, I love being able to do research. You know, there's some films that I've done where, you know, I played a truck driver, so I went to truck driving school. I like to be able to do tangible things, so I can understand that kind of the livelihood in which this person lives. It's invaluable, as we all know. This unfortunately didn't allow me the opportunity. I was like, well, how do I like go into a cult, or how do I explore that? You know, I didn't really know how to do it. But what I did was, as I do with every character, I write a lot. And what I wanted to really find out about this person was the emotional journey that this character was going on, because I was sort of thinking, I was raised Catholic, and it was an incredible upbringing, and I'm so glad that I was raised Catholic. However, I'm no longer a practicing Catholic now, but I would consider myself, as very much as many of us are, on spiritual journeys, right? And we're always asking questions, right? Forever searching, you know, for the answers, and that's what's awesome, because we can all relate to it. But I wanted to explore that a woman that was really brought up in something that was so convicted, and that she knew no other way. I mean, she is a wife and a mother, but above all of that, she is the most devout follower of Meyerism. I consider her like the matriarch of Meyerism. So I thought, like, what do people, you know, people that really are very devout, you know, I thought of my grandma. She, God bless her, she was so devout. And this woman to me had such tremendous strength. You know, when you have faith, there's like some tremendous strength and power in that, and self-control. And I really, that's where I wanted Sarah to have that. And as a result, be very calm, cool, and collected, you know, kind of stoic in a way, because she has an exemplary faith, so she needs to be sort of operating a great example. And then I thought, I wanted her to start to unravel and really see that things aren't working out, you know, when she finds out that he has I'm really going off on a tangent. Should I stop? Do you want to? I don't even know.
No, of course. They're not here to hear me.
But I really, you know, I just wanted to see a woman, you know, think that she seemingly has it all together, and then only when things aren't adding up, and, you know, when they sort of go through the program, I guess, with Richard, with Clark Middleton, who's here, who's an outstanding actor, you know, and it's still not working. It's, you know, and then Miranda Frank wouldn't unburden. If anybody's seen any of the other previous episodes, you start to see some character flaws in her, and she starts to lose that calm, cool, and collected nature. And I want her to be unsettling to watch sometimes. And when you start to see her kind of, her challenge, her belief system sort of challenged in what she's willing to do, with the toughest kind of love, also with her son. So,
we have a question from Taylor Cloys. Wants to know, when working on scenes like this, a series like this with Hulu, do you get the whole script, or is it episode by episode? And how do you check yourself on distance traveled as a character?
That's a really good question, and it's complicated, and it depends on what day it is. Some days I really like it, and then other days I find it a little bit frustrating and jarring. That's why I found it to be really important to, as I said, like, do a lot of writing and kind of figure out understanding that there was going to be a big arc, because we didn't get all episodes. True Detective, rather, we got all 8 episodes, and that was such a gift. So we were able to kind of map out, your arc. I had an idea, a sense of what I wanted to do with the character. But, it's one of those things where you sort of go, this is what I'm thinking, and you collaborate. I'm thinking about doing this, and would this kind of fit into what maybe you guys are doing down the road? And we were really fortunate because we have a really collaborative writing team. And we all, Aaron, Hugh, myself, we all went in with like very kind of specific ideas and kind of potential maybe little storylines we could add. And they were all really receptive to those ideas. And so I would suggest just being really like locked in with your writer and just saying specifically, I was thinking that I wanted to kind of maybe convey this, you want to really understand what your personal arc is within the show, so that you have that distance to travel. So my thought was for me, to sort of, be in a very happy place, and then everything kind of start to implode around me, and then she starts to have her own internal implosion. And and then hopefully, if you're starting to do that, and then the writers are watching, which typically they do, they can start to play to those strengths, and then you start to work in tandem, and then it's just like this beautiful thing. Yeah, of course.
Was there any point where you got a script and you were kind of like, whoa, I did not see that coming?
Let me think. Yes, that towards the end, it's a very slow burn of a show. It's a very patient show, which I really like. And then in around episode 6, 7, it really starts to pick up in terms of plot. And there are some things that happen in 6, 7, 8 that were really interesting.
That they didn't warn you about.
That they didn't warn me about, yeah, which I liked, because I like surprises, and I like surprises like that, or surprises in the moment when you're working with somebody, when things just sort of organically happen. One of the greatest things I think, as an actor, is just watching your fellow actor work. You can't help as an actor when you're preparing a scene to imagine what the other actor's going to do, so that you can kind of prepare it for yourself. And then, when you're in a room working with, an actor like Hugh or Aaron or whatever, and they just read it a totally different way. Their interpretation is so much better than what was in your head. You kind of feel like a jackass, number one. But number two, you're so inspired, and it's so exciting. And so I feel like we're having the opportunity to experience that kind of, not just in the scripts that we get, but in the actual scenes, and they allow us to kind of play around and have fun with that.
We have to talk about the rest of this amazing ensemble, because every role from top to bottom is so well cast.
Yes.
But starting with Aaron and Hugh, were they already attached when you joined?
They weren't already attached. I was first to come on, and we were sort of speaking to them. I was sort of saying, so who are you guys thinking of, And they mentioned Aaron, and listen, I was like, Aaron, if you can get Aaron Paul. He just came off like the best television show ever. And he was really into it. And I remember he and I, we got on the phone together, and I just, we both were really effusive of how much we respected each other's work. And I had worked with him actually on Mission Impossible 3 years ago. He played my little brother.
Oh,
so I was like,
weird.
so part of it was weird. And then I was like, I can't say that's weird. I'm an actor. I'm the last person that can say that's weird. And that's not fair. But he's great. He's much better at playing my husband. So he eventually signed on as well. And then we were so fortunate. We were sort of looking at lists for guys to play Cal, and we had a great fortune, or unfortunate for Hannibal fans, but the show got canceled. And I think Jessica Goldberg, our showrunner, was like 2 days later, was like, "Hey, what about Hugh Dancy?" And I was like, "Hugh Dancy? Hugh Dancy's amazing," and he really responded to it as well. And I sort of. And I've said this before, and I do have to say, pardon the pun, but the show has been really kind of blessed in that way, that it all kind of worked out, and then we got this incredible supporting cast. Like I was just mentioned, Clark Middleton is back there. Sarah Jones. We're all confused because we all share the same name. It's Emma Greenwald, Rockmond. I mean, everybody's so fantastic. Kyle Allen, what a great young actor he is. It's literally like his first project that he's done, and he's an extraordinary young man to work with. So we feel really, really blessed, yeah.
But speaking of Mission Impossible 3, that was a really talented family, because wasn't Bellamy Young your sister?
Yes. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and Aaron Paul was your brother.
Yeah, that's right. We all did all right.
Yeah, Hugh is really fantastic in this. Like, I would join this cult.
Wouldn't you? He's really outstanding to watch. This was so exciting for me because I hadn't seen this episode. And that scene where he's in his office and he's doing the energy work, is incredible. And what's so nice too about working with this group, like Hulu in particular, it's like normally if it was network or maybe somewhere else, that he would have done that like once. Do you know what I mean? And they would have cut that scene. But so exciting for actors to let these scenes breathe, really, and let us, act and do our thing. And it gives us layers and a lot of subtext, and it's been a really nice creative process here.
I believe I heard, actually, rather than hesitate at the idea of this being on Hulu, you kind of jumped at the opportunity.
I did jump at it because, I'm a lover of independent film, and I sort of feel like, well, it's really hard independent filmmaking these days. It's always been difficult, but I find it really, really challenging. But I sort of look at the streaming networks as sort of the independent filmmaking of these days. And I loved that Hulu wanted to be at the ground floor. They were really like all guns blazing, we're buying great content from great people, and they wanted to compete with the big guys, like Amazon and HBOs and Showtimes and all those guys. And I thought, you know what, this would be such a great, and I loved the people, everybody involved, and I thought it'd be really neat to be on the ground floor with a group of people that were just, when you rock up to an independent film and everybody's got their best foot forward, I was like, I'd rather be on the ground floor than when everyone's sort of down the road and a little bit jaded and not really interested in it anymore. I don't know. That was sort of my gut instinct, and they've been an amazing company to work with. It's rare, except in independent filmmaking, that there aren't a lot of cooks in the kitchen. There's usually lots of suits there, and everybody's got their creative input. And with Hulu, they've literally hired the people they wanted to hire, and then they go and they entrust us to go and make it. It's such a novel idea, but it totally works. And it's just been a really nice, liberating process for all of us to be working like that. So.
And I hope they gave you a free Hulu Plus account.
They
That
did.
is the best.
They did. Yeah.
No, it really is the best.
Yeah, it is.
I think is it true this is their first drama series?
It is their first drama. They had the limited drama series with 11/22, and then Casual is their first sitcom, but this is their first drama. So yeah,
So really the ground floor.
Really the ground floor. Yeah.
We have a question from Rich B. Who wants to know, the character you play is so complex, you seem like a true believer, even more so than the movement leader.
Yeah.
But it seems like your faith is being tested through. Could you expand on the challenges of playing that?
Yes. Well, there's that balance of being so convicted and that you can be unrelatable, and that's like very much like in real life as well with anything, let's take for example the case with Hawk, my son Hawk. So you discover that, and what I like also about the show is that we allude to a lot of things, and we talk about Tessa, my sister, and we sort of you kind of wonder like, well, who the hell is Tessa, and what's an IS, and what's this, and it's kind of a slow discovery. And what you kind of find out And so that's weird playing that because I have no idea who Tessa is, do you know? But yet we're kind of relating to it. And so that speaks to your question, you know, it's a little bit challenging. So you have to leave the door open. But what we find out is that Tessa is, it's not that much of a spoiler, but she left our family and she became an ignorant person. And so that means we basically excommunicated her from our lives, and we've never spoken to her again. And it was absolutely devastating for our family, as anyone could imagine. And now Hawk is threatening to do the same. So there's this scene which you kind of get a hint of, like, kind of the dark side of her, which is like, I won't lose you again. And that was beautifully shot, by the way. I love that too, like when you don't know that's what they're doing, and that profile shot and the silhouette. And I was like, wow, that's so good that they have their job and I do mine, because, you know, it's really nice. It's so exciting. It's so creative, but it's beautiful. And so I loved that scene. And then there's another scene where I basically kind of threaten him, which will be coming in upcoming episodes. And that is so exciting to get to kind of play, because I kind of considered that, and to answer your question finally, is like, how do you play that? Somebody so convicted and complex. And I'm thinking, you know, no, this is the toughest love. Like, this is the toughest love that she knows, like, in this world. You know, because you know what? Leave. And I'll never speak to you again. And I'll never, no, but leave. You know, and that to me is like but I'm doing him the greatest favor, you know, by letting him know. But yet it's like so cruel and so harsh. But for her, she really thinks that this is like the best way to handle the situation. And it's totally warped and diluted, of course. But hopefully by the time that you get to that whenever that scene happens, you'll sort of understand like what she's doing, because it's just out of complete fear and desperation, and it worries me sometimes that then maybe people won't sort of maybe understand her. I don't think people have to have compassion for her, but sort of just empathize, like sort of understand as like a mother what would be like the deepest, darkest thing, worst thing that could ever happen to you. I love that, like the worst thing, like it was so much worse for Eddie to tell her that like he was just having doubts, that it was safer for him to say, I'm having an affair. Do you know what I mean? And so when I got those story points early on, I was like, wow, so she's really, really convicted. Do you know? Like, this was like, it's like she can forgive him for transgressing, but by God, don't have doubts about the movement, because that would be the most harmful thing that you could do. Yeah,
I do.
If that answers your sort of, yeah, of course.
I do love how strong she is, though. I mean, I feel like she has all the control over both these guys, frankly.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, like, I don't usually see roles like that, especially not in film. Are you finding that, you know, roles like that are more common in television?
100%. And I don't know why that is. Why can't it like cross over to film? It is real. I find that we have very strong, independent women. I always find it so surprising too when people say, you know, wow, you're really tough. You play a really strong woman. I'm like, my God, I am a strong woman. All the women in my life are strong, like independent women. You know, why it is rare that you sort of don't see them depicted like as multidimensional women like that is beside me, but it is nice to play a character that is also can be very maternal and very nurturing, but also just have a very strong backbone, and to see all of those qualities, which represent probably all of us here as women, you know, represented in the show. And, you know, that is really a testament also to an amazing female showrunner that we have, Jessica Goldberg, which is also a huge rarity, you know, to have female showrunners. So it's very, very cool. So I feel glad to represent.
And it sounds like this was just a meeting with Jason. You didn't have to audition for this role?
I did not. How
nice is that?
It is nice, but I will be honest with you. I actually enjoy the audition process. And, you know, listen, there's a certain privilege that you get to enjoy after having worked for so many years and people will offer you things. But I have to be honest, I like going in and fighting for a role, but moreover, I like going in and knowing that I got the job on the merit of what I did in the room. So that means when I turn up on the first day, I don't feel like I'm going to get fired because they've creatively liked what I've done in the room. I have the worst fear, and I did with this project as well, so much so that I wrote about it so much, and I never really share my really personal intense notes about the character, but I shared it with them because I wanted to make sure. I was like, if you don't like it, if you don't like what I want to do with it, then you can get out now. It's okay. I really did. I gave them an out because I felt so honored that they came to me with it. But at the same time, I felt like I really needed to share because I do have this fear that I'm going to turn up and I'm going to start, cameras are going to roll, and I will have made choices in my mind. And most of my work is predominantly done, and in my mind it is. And then they're going to just go, that's shit. We thought she was going to do totally something else. So it's interesting you asked that, I'm privileged, I'm grateful, but I don't mind going in that room and just, earning it and breathing a sigh of relief when I turn up to work.
But has that ever happened where they said, okay, we made a mistake?
No, but I will say when I did the table read for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, now I auditioned with Shane, and then a couple of months later when Robert came on board, I went in, I read with Robert, and we had an amazing read, and they basically hired me on the spot, which was incredible. But then a couple of days later, I'd gone back. I was shooting Born Supremacy. I flew back, and we were straight off the plane to do the table read. And I so did not get the tone of the movie. It was I was all over the place. And I think I remember walking into Joel Silver's office after that, and his back was to me, and I think it was not positive things that he was saying. And I thought for sure that I was really going to get fired on the spot, and maybe I would have the following day, but the following day I went to work and everything just kind of clicked. So, there are moments definitely like that. I haven't really shared that with anybody. That really happened. So it's okay. But table reads are the worst, aren't they? Matthew McConaughey told me when we had to do the first table read for True Detective, because you have to do every episode. He was like, just don't give him anything. Don't give him anything. Because he got fired once after a table read. He told me the story, and he was being really vulnerable and sweet, and he was like, oh, I hate this shit, he really, and I was like, I do too. What actor does like it? Tell me, because you can't give it, you don't want to give too much, because then you feel foolish, because you're just sitting around a table, and then if you don't give anything, then you're like, well, they're going to fire me because they don't think I know what I'm doing. It's the terrible, and how do they ever get any good notes from it anyway, because nobody's even doing half the work. I'm really going off here. But anyway, don't give him anything, per Matthew McConaughey.
Hold back.
Yeah, exactly.
When you withhold. Well, I know you've also talked about you've been cut from movies before.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Constantine, I think, was the big
Constantine was the first one. And I'll say, my agent called me up, and but I still get residuals from it. How awesome is that? Yeah. And so I got cut from it, but the first thing I said was to my agent, because with one of my very first gigs, I was like, do I have to give him money back? I was seriously, because I didn't have any money, and I was paying off my college loans and stuff. And I was like, do I have to give back the money? I was like, seriously, I can't, that money's gone, and then I didn't have to give the money back. And then I was like, I didn't even give a shit that I got cut out of the movie, to be honest. I was like, that's fine, whatever. And then I got cut out of Syriana. The whole storyline got cut out of Syriana, but that's okay. George Clooney wrote me a letter, so that was cool.
So you knew in advance, because I've heard horror stories about actors who didn't know they were cut.
And I've heard that, but they were very generous. Francis Lawrence was really gracious and had called me and after the fact, and it was really sweet. And then George as well just had reached out, and it was very gentleman.
What was the role in Constantine? I've always wondered.
So I played a hooker that slash confidant that Keanu frequented quite often, and like a really skeevy, shady hotel room, he would come and sort of tell me what ails him, and I would look after him and give him my best advice. And then it turns out that she ends up being the one of the, yeah, and that's basically it. I mean, I'm sure there were many other layers I added to it, but that was basically the gist. Yeah.
But after how that happens a couple times, do you start to get paranoid?
I mean, always you sort of get paranoid. I mean, even when I do other movies now that I've been working for years, I'll see like they cut out something, and of course I'm like, oh God, I wonder why they cut that out. You know what I mean? It's like it happens, it happens, and there are always various reasons for it, and I'm sure I've been cut out of like particular scenes or storylines because I just didn't bring it.
I hear that's never the reason, honestly. So what's up next for The Path? You guys already have a second season?
We hope to have a second season. We hope. We're crossing our fingers that happens. Yeah, I know we'd all really like to come back, and it seems like it might be headed that direction. I hope if you guys all continue to watch, hopefully, we'd like to come back.
And I have a question from Matthew Scomo. Is that correct? Oh, cool. Wants to know, how do you keep uplifted and creative in high spirits? And is it your birthday?
No.
Okay.
It was a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Gosh, that's a very good question. I try to read a lot. I mean, and I read everything that gets sent to me in terms of scripts, no matter where they come from, because it's really important just to see what's kind of floating out there. I find that really inspiring. I'm generally like a pretty positive person, and I'm really big on persevering, and I don't care like at what level we're all at the very beginning, and you can be hugely successful, but there's always a challenge or something or a disappointment. And so I just think that's incredibly important, and I have balance in my life, which is, I have 2 kids at home and a husband, and so it doesn't allow me the freedom to sort of wallow in whatever, shit that I think that I have the freedom to wallow in. I just don't, so that's super important. I mean, they truly keep me uplifted. My daughter she really doesn't care what I do, but all she wants to know is what my character's name and what her job is. Do you know? And so that's like, yeah, that's super awesome. Like little things like that. Like, she loved Violet Van Patten from Pixels, of course, the best, because she loved that name. So just my children in general, my family keep me uplifted, and it's just that balance I think is incredibly important.
I think you told me once that when Due Date came out, like your daughter saw the poster and she was most excited by the French Bulldog.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like, I'm in that too.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
But how does that not keep you grounded? I mean,
it's totally. I think the other day we were driving the car and there's the poster of The Path, and my daughter said to my son, who is 2.5, "Look, Tommy, that's Mommy." And Tommy looked at it and he goes, "No." I was like, all right, well, thoroughly unimpressed. Yeah.
Or just so deep in your character, your own son didn't recognize you.
Exactly.
And what is up next for you? Because I don't trust anything I read on the internet, but it looks like you have some fun stuff coming
I have a film coming out in the fall with Jamie Foxx, who is awesome, called Sleepless Nights. And that'll be coming out in the fall. I think maybe November sometime. And then I'm currently shooting a film with Mark Wahlberg, directed by Pete Berg, called Patriots Stay. And that's about the true story of the Boston Marathon bombings. And it's a powerful, powerful story. And it's really about what happens in the few days after the bombings take place. So I'm currently shooting that, and then I'm going to be starting a little film right after that called Sydney Hall, little independent film. Can you believe it? And that's with Elle Fanning and Kyle Chandler, and yeah, so we've got it's a nice thing. So staying busy.
And then hopefully on to Path Season 2.
Yes, fingers crossed. Yeah.
Because I don't know what's happening with these people. I've cheated. I've seen all 10. So.
Yeah. See, I haven't even seen
when
all
you said
10.
you just saw 6, I was like, how have I seen
I haven't.
this?
I haven't. Because you know what? I don't. If I see a rough cut and the sound's not good, or it's not color corrected, or there's no sound design or no music, I'm like, God, this is terrible. Do you know what? My imagination is not that good. So I actually prefer to wait until it's like a complete product and I see everybody's sort of work put into it, and then I can really appreciate it. So tonight, seeing all that, it's amazing, that scene with Hugh. You know, it's so amazing. You know, I read that scene where he gets his ass kicked. You know, it's so good in slow-mo. And then the Bowie song. Oh, it's like awesome. Yeah.
You did Pixels, though. You have to have a good imagination about pretending you're acting opposite a tennis ball.
That's true. That is not enjoyable, you know, doing the green screen or whatever like that. And you do feel like a jackass, like jumping over in the barrel, the flaming barrel's coming right at you, and jump, you know. You just don't really believe them, but then they make it look good, and then, you know, yeah, anyway.
Was your daughter at least impressed you worked with Olaf?
She loves Josh Gad. Okay. She loves Josh Gad. Yeah, but she did fall asleep during the premiere, so she wasn't that impressed with the movie. Yeah.
Everyone's a critic.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's
always so awesome to come here. I love it. Thank you for having me. Thank you.